Welcome to the Play-Based Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Kristen R.B. Peterson, and maybe your new teacher bestie that is here to hype you up, maybe give you a motivating kick in the pants, and teach you all I know about play and childhood. I am here to help you challenge old and outdated practices and inspire you to create a truly developmentally appropriate early childhood environment that fosters creativity, curiosity, and joy in the children that you care for. Let's set the stage for a lifelong love of learning. Let's get going. Thanks for listening to the Play-Based Learning Podcast. I have Veronica Kelly. She is the founder of Tiger Lily Preschool in Seattle, joining me today. And we're talking all things process art. Hi, Veronica.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Being here. Yeah. Okay. So, in your words, can you define process art? What it means to you?
Yeah. So I think of it as like the key components of process art. So the first one is that it is child-led. So that means that the student decides how they want to do their art.
Yeah.
And it's open-ended, meaning we're not focusing on what something looks like at the end.
Yep.
And it's process focused, hence the name. So
Yep.
you're focusing on what they're doing while making the art, as opposed to what art looks like at the end.
Yes. So basically play in art form.
In art form.
That would be like the definition of play, but it's as art.
Yeah, it's play with art materials. And then you end up with an art project, but that's not the end goal. Yeah.
No, because an art project can be I tell a story about a little girl who had a paper plate and she poured a whole entire bottle of glue on it and put one pony bead in the middle. Like, that is art. That's a project. And I've also had a little boy make a giant squid with 32-foot long tentacles before. And that's art. And it can be really big and elaborate, but it can also be like a scrap of paper with a little bit of glitter and glue on it.
Yeah. And it's really important to them, right? Like, that's like, and it's important that we're not looking to where we don't have just our adult like glasses on, like when you're looking at something, you have to say like, okay, how is this? What are the kids learning through this? If a kid spent 25 minutes on that tiny piece of paper with that glitter on it, that was some amazing learning happening for them.
I know. Yes. Oh my goodness. My niece during COVID, she made, and she was like 3 years old at the time, maybe even 2.5. She made me a hedgehog. I still have it framed in my house. And it is the sweetest thing because she didn't have any glue. So my sister said she spent like an hour taping every single tiny piece of yarn to her hedgehog body so it would have spikes. And then she ran out of brown yarn. So she used white yarn and then a marker to color the white yarn, the color that she wanted the hedgehog. Isn't that the sweetest thing?
It is so sweet. And also I'm like, so that was problem solving. That was like, I'm like, there's all
I know, putting on your play detective like hat and saying, okay, like let's detectivize this. Let's suss out the learning. Yeah. Problem solving, eye-hand coordination. What else?
Let's see. Motor planning.
Yeah.
Of course, anytime kids are doing art, they're using their vestibular system.
Tell us, for those who don't know, what does that mean?
Yeah, vestibular system. Okay. So it's the body's like balance and movement sensory system. It's located in your inner ear, which is kind of a cool fact.
Maybe your vestibular system's off, and that's why you gotta
I'm getting a tickle in my throat. Yeah, and it's to do with it detects gravity and your head position and motion.
Okay, so when they're standing at an easel or when they're standing near a table and they're doing their craft project, it takes that vestibular system to get them in, to be able to function in that area, right?
Yep, to be able to stand there. They're also using gross motor skills in standing there. They're using core strength. They're using a ton of stuff like hand-eye coordination and motor processing and all sorts.
We could open up that early learning standards book and probably pick out at least 100 standards that are being met when a child is working on process-based art. But okay, on the flip side, let's take a craft project. Okay,
Mhm.
so in your words and like your thoughts, what is a craft project?
Yeah, so I see it as the opposite of process art. So, like when we talked about how process art is child-led, open-ended, and process-focused. So a craft project would be adult-led,
Yeah.
it would be product-focused, and it
Yes.
would have an very specific expectation of what
Yes.
is going to be happening at the end. And there would be, so a big thing that I always think of, there's no wrong way to do process art. There are wrong ways to do a craft project.
Right.
And that is okay, I get it like sad when I think about it,
I
but I
do
think that
too.
most people when they go into it, they don't realize most either like teachers, parents, caregivers, they're not going into it intending for it to be not developmentally appropriate. They don't
Right.
understand. And so I always tell myself, I'm like, when we know better, we can do better. And so
Hmm.
part of knowing that a craft project is not super developmentally appropriate for a preschool age kiddo is because they're not allowed free exploration.
Right.
They're being told what to do. And then that's actually going to diminish their confidence. They're not going to feel as capable.
Yeah.
Um, they're not going to think, they're going to think that like, oh, oh, art has to be done one way.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's
And
not,
because it's not really true art.
yeah,
It's not.
yeah,
I think it also creativity vampires. It's a creativity vampire. It sucks the
yes,
creativity right out of our children because we are wanting them to do something that's just like everybody else's, that cookie
yeah,
cutter version of
yeah.
a project.
And you
I,
don't know where that kid is coming from too. Let's say you have a kiddo who is very, very sensitive to the needs of the adults around them. So
yeah.
they might just follow your directions to a T, and it might look like they're really enjoying themselves, but really what they're doing is trying to please you.
Yeah.
That's not what we want, right? We want them to be confident, like when they grow up, what do we want for them? We want them to be creative problem solvers. We want them to be confident in themselves and have great self-esteem and have
Yeah.
problem solving skills and be able to assert themselves. If they're
Hmm.
trying to please their teacher, they're not practicing those life skills.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And we don't want a whole generation of people pleasers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because,
that's
like,
what, when there's a specific end product in mind from the adult, we're getting in the kid's way.
right.
We're getting in their way of being able to express themselves and also just experience the materials because I also understand that not everybody is going to want to do like free the glue like you have the
Right.
that awesome course. So we do tons of glue where we use liquid glue in our classroom and the kids, some of them I can tell that they've never experienced being able to use as much glue as they want and they're like very hesitant and a little confused and then
Yes.
they get more comfortable and it's amazing to see that big shift for them where they start to really trust like yeah, I'm going to use a bunch of glue. I'm going to
Yeah.
really like get this like totally covered in glue. But then sometimes they'll start off using tons of glue and then they'll learn, oh, that was
Yeah.
like maybe too much glue for what I was going
Yeah.
for. So next time I'll use less glue. And that's
Absolutely.
how they've learned what's the right amount of glue for the
Yes.
project they want to do.
Absolutely. Okay. One of the things when I'm teaching around the United States, sometimes I'll ask audiences like, what are the skills that you are hoping children walk away with when you are presenting them a craft project? And I get creativity. No, yep, the creativity. But it's just because they've never really like reflected on what craft versus art is. So like yes, I might have thought the same thing like 15 years ago before I started really reflecting on my practice and learning more about play and creativity and open-ended materials. So creativity, fine motor skills, cutting skills, which is a fine motor skill. Um, fine motor, is that it? Like those are the big ones. Fine
Or
motor
like,
skills. Oh, following directions. That's the other one. So
oh,
those three big ones: following directions, creativity, and motor skills.
yeah, but the
Like
following
we can
directions,
debunk all of those.
yeah,
Should
yeah,
we debunk them? tell
Yeah.
in your word. Okay, so you tell me why is it not? We've kind of already covered this, but in your words, creativity.
Yeah, it's not creativity because they're just following your directions for an art, like making a, caterpillar out of
Right,
circles.
right.
It's like, and we can go into this more later. I'm like, I can walk you through how to take a craft project and make it a process art project.
Ooh, okay, I like
Same
that.
same materials even, and it's just that you like let them loose. You just be like, "Hey, here's some stuff." Like
Yes.
we could make a caterpillar, but like how would we do that? Like what would we do? And then just
Okay,
let them loose with whatever materials you have, and then they'll make some really really cool stuff. You'll have
that's
awesome
cool.
conversations. Like it's
I love that.
but then you're not having to like let's say you're in a school where as a teacher you don't have a ton of say over maybe the art projects. You
Right.
kind of like tweak stuff to make it more process.
Absolutely.
So then that
Um,
would be adding creativity. So sorry, go back and
right.
go back to
No,
it's not super
absolutely.
creative when they're just doing exactly what you're telling them to do. And
Yes,
especially if you're like, oh wait, no, the head of the ladybug doesn't go there.
I know. Oh, and
Yeah.
I know. Okay, so I'm gonna write this question down and we're gonna talk about it.
So you said creativity. Oh, so fine motor skills. So fine motor skills are happening all the time in a preschool classroom, or
Yeah,
they should be, right? So they're learning fine motor skills through building with blocks. They're
yeah,
learning fine motor skills through looking through a book,
yeah.
in the dramatic play area. Like they're doing it everywhere. Like I
Everywhere.
remember a parent coming to me after going to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician was concerned because her son at like 3 years old, maybe three and a half or four, wasn't able to use scissors correctly. And I was like, okay, all right, let's go. He was concerned about his fine motor skills. And I
Okay.
was like, yes, but I have watched your son build very elaborate Lego creations
Yeah,
and using his tiny little pincher grip. There's a lot of
yeah,
force used to like pull apart and push Legos together. I was like, I am not concerned about his like fit like the muscles in his hands. He was also a kiddo that if you tried to pressure him into anything, he ran the other direction. So I
oh,
was like, so he probably didn't like perform for the
yeah,
pediatrician, right? Whereas I'm like, but I know what he's capable of in my classroom because I see it every day. But
yeah.
does he want to sit down and practice writing or cutting? No, he doesn't. But you know
No.
what? I had that kid for 2 years, and then there was one day where he came in and he just started using scissors, and he
Yeah.
was proficient at it, like immediately.
Oh my gosh. I
He
know. When
practiced,
they're ready, right?
and
When their
when they're
brain
ready,
is
they're
ready for
ready.
something,
And
they're
we've
ready.
had the material out and available for him to observe. So
Yeah,
he observed his classmates using scissors for an entire school year before he was willing to give them a try.
absolutely. And that is onlooker play right
Yeah.
there. What I was going to say about creativity, looping back, sorry, I just wanted to, um, so the definition, like what creativity actually is two separate ideas that collide together to make one new idea. So if you're, doing a craft project that's just like everybody else's, that's not really two ideas making another idea unless there's no sample in the beginning like you said, and we're just putting out materials, and maybe there's a picture of a caterpillar on the wall, of a real caterpillar, like, oh look, here is this. You could, if you like, you could try to make a caterpillar. I mean, but we also don't have to put all of our ideas into their head all the time either. Like my one kiddo who made the giant squid, like he came in and that was the first thing he said to me, I'm gonna make a giant squid today.
Yeah.
So
And what
yeah,
if you said no?
I
Like,
know.
so
Well, could you imagine like turn it like, but that's what we do every single day when we do a craft project and like don't allow children to create their own things. We're basically saying no to their ideas.
yep.
Ooh, was that harsh?
I mean, it's okay. So it's kind of harsh, but I have been teaching preschool for almost 15 years. And if you are teaching the same way that you taught 15 years ago, you need to do some self-reflection.
Yes.
I'm just going to be real.
Yeah.
Because I know as an educator that I am going to continue to change how
Oh,
I like show up in my classroom and how I support kids in my classroom because I want to continue to learn and I want to continue to grow. And
Yes.
so we just have to keep evolving. And if that looks like we take some little baby steps at first, that's okay.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to fully embrace process art because it was not what I was seeing all around.
Right.
And so it was hard to kind of like break that like cycle.
It is hard. It's really hard to let that go. And let's chat about that in a little bit. But I want to loop back to the things that teachers are hopeful children will learn from crafts. And the last one we didn't talk about yet is following directions.
Yeah, which is so funny to me because they're doing that all day.
Adults tell them what to do all day long. From the
All
moment they
day.
wake up in the morning, it's brush your teeth, get breakfast, get your shoes on, get your backpack. Like they are following directions all day.
Yeah, they're following directions all day long. They don't need to follow directions. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. They don't need to follow directions during art time. That should be their like self-expression time. But also, it's I think people think when you talk about process art, they're like it's a free for all. They're gonna put glue on the walls, and I'm like, not
You can have
necessarily.
boundaries.
Yeah,
You
I
can
was
have
like, there's
boundaries.
great. I was like, there's boundaries with it. Like we have to have boundaries around it because like our floor can get really slippery. So we're like, yeah, you cannot, if paint
Yeah.
drops on the ground, we clean it up immediately, right? Because
Yeah.
normally I say, like, don't clean up mid-process art. You'll make yourself crazy. Is he going in the corner?
Yeah. He just peed on the floor. I have a new puppy and we can see him in my Zoom camera behind me. And he just peed on the floor.
He's trying. He's
He's
learning.
trying.
Yeah,
He's
he's learning a new
trying.
skill.
It's play-based learning.
Yeah.
Bernie, let's go outside. No. That was funny. I was waiting for him to start taking a poop, but it was pee.
Yeah. It's just pee.
Okay, yeah. So that we can do all of those things that they're done at all other times of the day. You
Yeah.
don't have to have craft projects to do those things.
But also, if you, even if that's somehow really important, maybe for whatever curriculum your school has and things like that, they are still following directions with process art.
Yeah.
There's still parameters around it. So there's still like, maybe there's a spot you put projects when they're done and they want to dry. Like you have to walk them over to the drying rack. You
Uh-huh.
wipe off your hands when you're done. You put your
Put the
materials
caps on the
away.
markers.
Yeah. You're still following directions.
Right.
And then you're still practicing being like responsible with your materials and your space and like all of those skills that I think people want to have like kids practice during a craft project, but really it's like you can actually do those same things in a process art project.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so what do we say to the people? What do you tell people, educators who are like, but the children love the craft projects?
So sometimes when I hear that, um, I think it's that they just love their teacher.
Oh,
And like
yeah.
I try to say it that way because it feels um they just love time with you because a lot of the times
Mm,
craft projects are big connection points
mm,
in a classroom and I would then say like okay we'll find other places to do that because maybe the kids are so excited to come over and do the art project because they get one-on-one time with you.
yeah, very
And
true.
that's what they're like, oh, I love being here because I get to sit right next to Teacher Veronica and we talk about stuff and I get to tell her
Oh,
things. And so, yeah,
yeah.
of course they would love that. Um, and like, of course they would love that connection time, but you can still do that with process art. Like, you can still do that. You can just sit down next to them. You don't even have to
Yes,
say anything.
exactly.
And then they'll just start chatting away, or you can do what I talk about in the like in my course is observational statements. So you're
Okay.
not saying like I love that you used orange. You can say you used orange.
Yes.
And it's the same thing. You're connecting with them and then it opens up the conversation for them to tell you about why they used orange or what they plan to do next. And it brings in
Yes.
this really rich conversation and connection.
Absolutely. And I think that the process art area is one of those areas where normally I don't love when educators insert themselves into children's play, but I think the art area is a fabulous place to connect in that way and
Yeah.
to make those observational statements because you're not overstepping anything they're doing. You're not changing their play whatsoever, but you are connecting with them and building
Yeah.
a relationship, and that is so important.
Yeah. And they need to know because once you kind of like level up, so to speak, in your process art, you can start like really like taking requests from kids as far as like, oh, I need
Oh,
scissors, I need tape, I need this.
yeah,
Because if you're starting from going from more of a teacher directed art project, you're not going to go 0 to 60 to like
yeah,
open, like kids have access to all the art materials all the time. And that's
yeah,
okay because that can be really overwhelming as the teacher. And even also for the kids, if they
yeah,
haven't had access to stuff like that, they might be like, whoa,
yes.
what do you mean? So with that, you can then, like, you want the kids to know that you're happy to bring down more stickers for them. Like, oh,
Yeah,
they want to use more yarn? Yeah, let me go grab some. Like,
yeah.
you want them to know that you're there to, like, make their art dreams come true.
Oh, I love that.
And so we have a bunch of kids who are like it's been very clear that um they need washi tape every day. And we're like,
Hmm.
you got it.
Yeah.
They're very focused on it right now. And so
Oh,
we just make sure we always have it out.
I love that.
And then we'll have other kids that are like, why would I use that?
Right. I don't
Oh,
need that.
yeah,
No,
it's just
I
their
just want a paper
preferences.
plate with glue on it and one pony
Yep.
bead. Hmm.
Yep.
What about the people who say, "But what about the parents? They love handprint
Yeah.
turkeys."
Yeah. So, um, I think that then it's our job as the teacher and the educators to hold their hand when you
Mhm.
explain to them why process art is more developmentally appropriate. And that might mean, a letter to families, or if you're kind of like changing things up, don't blindside people. Explain your thought process, explain why it's important. There's a million resources for finding a huge list of all the developmental milestones and all the developmental like color exploration, gross motor skills, language development, self-confidence, all of these skills that are being built in process art. And if you give that to parents and say like, here, this is what they are learning and what they are practicing, most parents are going to be totally on board.
Yeah. And then, I mean, also, I would suggest giving parents a few ideas of like open-ended questions they can ask about their child's art. And so,
Yeah.
because a lot of parents aren't like us and they don't have like this reflective practice as far as early childhood concepts go. So, like, tell me about your art project.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
like conversation starters.
Yes.
I feel like we
Yes.
see tons of stuff out there about conversation starters for like when you pick your kid up from school. Like, don't just ask them how their day was. But the same thing kind of works with art, where you can be like, those observational statements, or um, you can really like dive a little bit deeper as opposed to being like, oh, look, you painted and try to guess what it is.
Yeah.
Don't try to guess what it is. But
Yes.
saying, I always ask kids, I say, tell me about it. Tell me about it. Tell me about your picture.
Yeah.
And
That's
they'll
what I
come up
say
to me and
too.
be like, look at what I made. And I'm like, tell me more. And then they're
Yeah.
like, yes, I will tell you all the things.
Right. Now, do you think that children could have the same? I mean, could you still do the same conversation starters, open-ended questions about a craft project, in your opinion?
Not quite. I think that depending on the kiddo, because if you have like a really chatty kiddo, I have
Yeah.
two very chatty kids, they would tell me all sorts of stuff. But if it's just a crap, they didn't have a lot of say in it, so they might just
Yeah.
be like, "Well, I
You
glued
just
it,
did.
I
Yeah.
glued the pieces on."
Yeah.
They weren't really thinking about how to glue them together. Did they specifically choose dark green and light green?
Yeah.
There isn't a whole lot to talk about
Right.
because they weren't
Okay.
involved in the process.
Right. Okay, now, of course, here's some logistical questions. Um, do you let in your program have children have free access to scissors all the time?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah.
And
We
nothing
do
bad
too at
and
Butterfly Hill.
yeah, and nothing bad happened. I'm just gonna say nothing bad happened. I talk about
Yeah.
that a little bit in my course. So I am not naturally a very chill person. And so I used to think like, oh my gosh, well, we can't give them, too much glue because then it's wasteful and da da da, which again, I could go into that whole idea of wasteful and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But um you tell yourself when you're so scared to be like, oh my gosh, but like if I give them this paint and I don't give them specific parameters around what to do with it, they're just going to start painting everything. And then, oh my gosh, what if they use their hands? And then I'm like, pause. What if they do use their hands?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? What's going to happen? They're going to get paint on their hands. They might get paint on their clothes. And the really cool thing about kids is that they're washable and
Right.
you can just go clean off afterwards.
Yeah.
And once you kind of like, okay, you're right. Yeah, that's okay. And even if you're like, but I don't have a sink like right next to the paint area, I'm like, yeah, neither do we. It's fine. Like
Yeah.
the bathroom is like around the corner, and a teacher just like helps them out in the bathroom if they need it. We've talked about how all the kids walk around like this if they get, I'm not, they walk around with their hands up in the air if they have paint on their hands. They're not like touching all the walls, and I've
Yeah.
never even had to say anything about it. And I think
Right.
if I did, I would be like, "Oh, like let's go clean that off once you're done." Like no big deal. It's not we're not shaming them for getting messy.
Yeah.
Um we're and then we're also supporting kiddos who don't want to get paint on their hands. That is
Yes.
okay too.
Yes.
We have a kiddo that needs to be elbow deep in paint every craft project. We have another kid who, if they get a little bit of paint on their hand, they start to panic a little bit. So we
Yeah.
have a towel next to them so they can wipe off their hand
Yes.
because we're meeting kids where they're at. And we want to
Absolutely.
honor like who they are.
Yeah. Hmm.
And especially if you phrase it that way to parents, they're gonna be like, well, they're gonna like, I mean, that like warms my heart when I think about that. Because obviously my kiddos went to my preschool. And so when I know that that's our culture, right? I
Yeah.
know that they're being taken care of and that their teachers know them really well and are able to support them in however they want to explore the art materials.
Okay. Tell me about your process art area in your classroom. Like, what's it like?
So we call it people have probably heard of this too, the whole like provocations. So
Yes.
it's when you like set something out and you just kind of let kids like
Yes.
explore it. So we do a lot of that. We always have a little art table that's open all the time
Hmm.
with we call them art caddies. We have these
Okay.
like little
Yeah.
like a little caddy and it's got scissors and it's got stickers and tape and then we always have paper available
Yeah.
for them to cut with and do whatever. And so we always have that available. And then we also have our main art table that'll have whatever our like featured thing of the day is. So we
Okay.
don't have it be like a full, it's not a full free for all the time. Our
Okay.
classroom's not big enough for that
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And it's been working really well for us. So I have like a bunch of pictures in the process art course of just like, magazine pieces. We'll just put a bunch of those out on the table. We love using recycled material, so we use a lot of cardboard. Also, it
Hmm.
holds up really well to a lot of glue. And so when we get boxes, we just like cut them up into little squares and
Yes.
then they get to do whatever they want with it. And generally, they're just, doing pretty like they're doing the collage thing. Some kids, though, will be like, I actually want to stack all the cardboard up together and glue it all together. And I'm like, cool,
Yeah.
go for
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
so
goodness.
we have it available to them. And then kids kind of come and go.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll have all the kids there at one time.
Yep.
Other times we'll have two kids there. Other times we'll have one kid there for an hour straight.
Yep.
Just depends on the day. Depends on what we've got going on. And then there is a certain point when we're getting close to the transition time where we need to transition for lunch.
Yeah.
We essentially like close up all the art stuff because we got to
Yes.
like get tables cleaned off
Yes.
and start cleaning up our classroom. So I think that sometimes people get kind of caught up because they're like, what do you mean it's out all the time? And I'm like, I mean, it's real like it's a preschool as in like we have a schedule we're following. So we always make sure that we have an hour, like usually an hour and a half of just like open classroom time. You're just doing
Yeah.
whatever you want to do. You want to do art? Great. You want to build with blocks? Great. It's all open for them. And the kids will just kind of float around to all the different areas. And then
Yes.
I always see though that too, that they're extra engaged because they're getting to choose what they
Yes.
do when they do it. We
Hmm.
have less behavioral
Yep.
issues. all of this is
Absolutely.
like, it feels very like obvious in hindsight.
Right? Isn't that so funny? Like, let's give them more choice about how they spend their time. We're going to have less behavior issues. But
Yeah.
that's part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like
Yeah.
freedom. You need to
Yeah.
have freedom, like autonomy, in
Yeah.
order to be able to learn.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how we honor that for
And
sure.
then also as the teacher, when you have a more play-based, child-led, process art classroom, you're able to just be that coach role, the
Yes.
step back role, because you're not like, oh my gosh, I have to sit here and do this ladybug art project with 10
Yes.
kids. I can't be over there helping, problem solve or, help kiddos through some like calm down techniques. Like
Yeah.
I can't go do that because I'm over here.
Right. Oh, it's
So
so
it's
beautiful, isn't it?
yeah, it's opened us up for a lot more like really beautiful moments with our kids in our classroom. Uh,
Absolutely. Do you do self-serve paint?
yeah, we do a little bit. We don't do it all the time because we have found that that's just like best for our classroom too.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
also we found that introducing things like slowly has been really
Yes.
good. So like at the beginning
Yes.
of the school year, we're at the end of September right now, we're still introducing materials.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like we still bring stuff out like in like
Increments.
yeah, increments, like where we didn't do scissors on the first day of school for our like 2.5-year-old kids,
Right.
you know, but we did practice some like tearing, paper tearing
Absolutely.
stuff, and so we try to like we'll do some like watercolors and stuff, and we'll just like do a quick little not and it's not a lesson on stuff, but it is kind of like oh look, these are liquid watercolors. Like what
Yeah.
would happen if we use them this way? Or like here's a tray of watercolors. We have to activate them with water, and then we're teaching new vocabulary skills because we're
Right.
it's like activate and stuff. But that's how
Mm.
we slowly introduce all of our different art materials, and
Yeah.
then we notice what kids really love to do, and we make sure that that's more available to them.
Mm.
And we
Yes.
also tie everything into books and books that we read in our classroom. That's a
Yeah.
huge thing for our school, not necessarily specifically, but that's my passion.
Yeah.
So we have our block area has a bunch of books that are about blocks and about building with
Yes.
blocks. So if we were to do like a caterpillar craft, not a craft, a caterpillar, you know,
Provocation.
yeah, like invitation to create is also what we call stuff sometimes.
Yep.
We would probably have read a book about it. The book would be out on the table with the
Yep.
kids doing the art project. And then we would just kind of like see where they want to go with it. And then if let's say we have the caterpillar project out, and then we hear about a kid that's like, I saw a ladybug yesterday and it was this color and this color. I would be like, note to self, gonna go grab the ladybug books and pull those
Yep.
up tomorrow. And that's how we just kind of like roll with it.
Yes. Child led. Mm-hmm.
Yep, child led. And so that's how, so then we also do, I think sometimes teachers get kind of hung up on the curriculum, like the planning part too. They're like, how do I know what to do? And I'm like, well, you have to just roll with it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, but how do I let the parents know? And I'm like, you do it after.
Yes. You
You
take
do
a
it after.
picture and you say, here's what we did.
Yeah. So we have made that transition. And I think that some teachers, it feels really daunting because you're like, but the parents want to know what their kids are going to do before they're doing it.
That's only because they've been conditioned
Exactly.
to do that.
Exactly. It's because that's what they know. But the
Yes.
minute you're like, hey, here, we're going to do this instead, and here's why, and you have really good reasons why, right?
Yes.
Then parents are like, oh, okay, cool. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly how our families reacted. They were like, oh, sounds great.
Yeah.
Nope, it was no problem.
Right.
And now they really see why it's so great because we're able to really be like, hey, here's what we were seeing in our classroom this week. Here's the book that was requested like on repeat. And here's
Mm.
the one particular imaginative play game that we saw. And here's a snippet of these really great like conversations that some of the kids were having.
Yes.
Because we're able to really do those observations. We're able to give them a really wonderful window into the classroom, as opposed to an email that's like, we're reading this book and we're doing this art project.
Yep.
it's not as juicy.
No, it's not. And like, do parents actually care what you're gonna do? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know that like, well, one from the parent side for myself, I love to know what my kids are doing at school, but
Does it,
I
yeah,
can know later. That's
right.
fine.
Does it matter if it's before or after, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know some families used to like to help like their kiddos who would have some separation anxiety, like walk them through like what the day would look like. And honestly though, I'm like, you can still do that. Like you can still do that. It's just not quite as specific.
yeah,
Um, but honestly, even when like back when we had a specific art project for each day and we were emailing families in advance, the kids didn't always do the art project because art was never required of the kids,
right,
right? We're not forcing them to sit down and do art. So sometimes kids did the project and sometimes they didn't.
right.
And so then I feel like this way, you're actually able to get a better window into what your kid is doing at school. And we're
Yeah,
able to really focus more on like the whole child, right? Like the whole picture.
yeah.
Like we're able to talk more about what they're really loving outside. Like we have a
Mm,
climbing tree and it's like we've watched kiddos progress from the first day of school to now with their climbing
yeah,
abilities and their confidence in themselves. And if we didn't know to include that in an
yeah,
email before the week started because we didn't know that was going to be their focus
yeah.
that week.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Okay, such good information. You kept mentioning your course. I want to know more about your course. What is it?
Yeah. Okay, so it is it's a mini course and it's
Okay.
on how to implement more process art in your preschool classroom. So all of what we've been talking about today, it's called from Pinterest to process.
Woo!
And it is a PDF, and then it has a lot of visuals. So it has little bullet points about all the different modules that I talk about. It has videos to go with it, and it has pictures of those art projects that we've done in our classroom. I know that not everybody learns the same way or takes in
Yeah.
information the same way, so I wanted to make it super accessible for everybody. And it goes through a bunch of different modules from like what we've talked about, intro to process art, what the benefits of process art are so that you can tell your families about that, transitioning away from teacher led to child led.
Yeah.
And then what does the setup like breaks it down to like what does
Amazing.
the setup look like? What's the teacher's role?
Love
Um,
it.
and it helps you do some reflecting
Good.
your own bias that might come in when it comes
Yep.
to art. Um,
Yeah.
it encourages you to get messy and to ask yourself,
Yes.
like, what's the worst that could happen?
Love that. Yes. Yeah. Because what is the worst that can happen? We're going to paint on something. We're
Yeah.
going to get glue on something. We're going to get
Yeah.
glitter on something. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the really wonderful thing about having it be not in your own like space, right? When you're in a classroom, you're like, yeah, it's gonna get messy and that's okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you have any suggestions for people who do it in their home, like early child care, like daycare, day home providers? Like
Yeah.
what would you suggest to them if they're worried about mess in their home?
Yeah, so my big thing is that you kind of have to like let a lot of it go, really.
Yeah.
And I jokingly will say that kids have an amazing talent for getting messy regardless of what they're doing,
Mhm.
whether it is an art project or it's not. They'll somehow figure out a way to be messy with
Yeah.
blocks. And you're like, how did that get over
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so you just have to like you have to just really embrace it and then also know that it's all like you can clean it.
You
It's gonna be
can.
okay. And then if there's things like so one of the things that I remind myself sometimes is like let's say um we know we're gonna be doing something super super messy that day. Don't wear your favorite shirt.
Yes.
Don't wear your what, but also like I've been teaching preschool long enough. All my clothes are secondhand. Like it's not, but
Yeah.
I'm like, don't wear something that you're worried about getting messy. Wear
Yes.
your play clothes. Like that's what we tell
Yes.
families.
Hmm.
And so it's like same as the teacher. It's like be prepared to get a little bit messy. Let's say you have something that you have to go to right after work and you're like, then you're all anxious about getting paint on your clothes. Just pause for a moment Like essentially like talk to yourself like you would one of your preschoolers. Okay, is this a small problem or a big problem? What are some solutions? You could bring a change of clothes for yourself for
Mhm.
after school. Anticipate being messy, and then suddenly it feels less daunting. Because then you can
Yes.
put things into place that are like, oh, I'll make sure, like, let's say personally, I can't stand the texture of chalk. This is true. I really don't like how chalk
Yeah, I
feels.
don't like it either.
But we still use it, right? We still use it. And I just make sure that I have a towel near me so that
Yes.
I can wipe my hands off because I can't stand how chalk feels. Same
Hmm.
thing for kiddos. You just make those little accommodations and then you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't so
Yeah,
bad.
absolutely. Okay. Tell us where we can find information about your course. We'll put it in the notes of the podcast. But do you have a website, Instagram? Where can we find you?
Yes, so I have both. My website is tigerlilyschool.com. And so that's tiger spelled, Tiger. Lily is Lily.
Okay.
Sometimes people want to throw in extra L's and
Extra L in
stuff.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, tigerlilyschool.com. And then
Perfect.
on Instagram, I'm Tiger Lily Preschool Learning, all one word.
Amazing. Okay. Now, then the last question I have for you, rapid fire, give me your 5 top process art materials.
Okay. Um, Foil.
Ooh.
I love foil. I love having the kids go choose a toy in the classroom to paint on. They just like walk around and find something and bring it back.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah. We like to use uh there's little sign stands. They're like acrylic
Oh
sign
yeah.
stands. We use those because they're clear so they can
Yeah.
paint on them and make a print.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You can also like use it as a mini easel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do a lot of really fun stuff.
That's fun.
That wasn't five, was that?
No, you have one more.
Okay. Um, I mean, we love glue.
Yeah.
We love liquid glue. That's just like the
Do you
best.
do hot glue guns or low temp glue guns?
No, we don't use those ones yet. We're
No.
gonna introduce them soon.
Yeah, you should. Those are one of my favorites
Yeah.
for sculptures. So
Yeah.
good. And you can buy colored hot glue sticks.
Yes.
Now, when I say hot glue guns, I do not mean the hot temperature ones, as
No,
those are not safe.
those
But you can
aren't.
buy low temp glue guns and you can buy cool touch glue guns.
Yeah,
So,
you can buy like kid ones.
yeah.
Yeah. We
Yes.
also love doing colored liquid glue though too.
Oh, yeah.
You can, yeah, like you make it like, brown or something, and then they can use that as like the paint, and then they can add whatever like collage.
Yes. I love to add scents to that.
Yes, yeah, we just
Uh-huh.
did like and it made everything smell like a candle. It was great.
Oh my gosh.
Like
So
pumpkin
fun.
spice paint.
So fun. Well, thank you for taking the time to record with me today and tell us all about process art. I'm sure that you've inspired many. Go check out the course, tigerlilyschool.com. Thanks, Veronica. Thanks for
Yeah,
being here.
thank you
Thanks for
so
advocating
much.
for play and childhood and creativity. You're inspiring, and I learned a lot from you today. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. This was great.
Yay. Okay. Bye bye, everyone. If you liked what you heard today, share this podcast with your coworkers, admin, or maybe even your partner. And I love getting 5-star reviews so more people can embrace play. Hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Or connect with me on Instagram or my website, KristenRBPeterson.com. Until next time.